what you'll need to know about both photosynthesis and respiration.
Don't tell him.
All right, so today we're only talking about the top section. I want to try and separate photosynthesis from respiration, so we can take them one at a time. And so you guys told me at the beginning of class in our question day, you told me that photosynthesis is when plants make their own food. Okay? And so we're going to expand on that. That's true. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to learn the chemical equation or the formula for the chemical reaction that is photosynthesis. And so photosynthesis requires three things in order for it to take place. What do plants need for photosynthesis? Probably the first thing I would guess that pops in your mind is what, Jared?
Sunlight.
They need light. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be sunlight. Okay, it could be artificial light as well. But if we're talking about in nature, it would be sunlight. And, question, Shay?
Yeah. What if a plant was like under a tree? Like how could it like survive?
Well, I mean, the plants can go through the process of photosynthesis using indirect light or sort of, unless it's pitch black. If there's some light available, the plant will be able to go through photosynthesis. It doesn't need direct shining sunlight on it in order for it to take place. In fact, you can, actually there's experiments where sometimes you'll do where you have a light and you have like Elodea, like these back here, and you place them sort of in a test tube, and you can count the bubbles that are being released from the leaves, because that's an indication of the amount of photosynthesis taking place. You then can vary how close the light is, and as you move the light away, what you will find is that fewer bubbles are produced because less photosynthesis takes place. If you look in this aquarium on a very sunny day, when there's direct sunlight on those plants, you'll see lots of bubbles coming from the leaves of those Elodea plants. If it's a sort of overcast day, like probably today, you're not going to see as many of them. All right, so we need light. Jackson, what else is necessary? Water, which comes from where?
The sky.
Where do plants, how do they get the water?
Their root.
Through the roots, through the soil. And it requires one other thing, a gas.
Oxygen.
Carbon dioxide, yeah.
Carbon dioxide.
Now, in our formula for photosynthesis and respiration, we're going to start to use chemical symbols.
Oh.
So we can use words. We could say light plus carbon dioxide plus water. Or we can start to use their chemical formulas. And you probably know most of these. You know, obviously, that water is H2O. Carbon dioxide is CO2. But the question is, do you know what that means? So why is water H2O? What is that chemical symbol actually telling us, Joe?
That there are two hydrogen molecules and one oxygen molecule.
Yeah, well, we actually will call them atoms, so that there are two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom all bound together, and that's one water molecule. Carbon dioxide is a carbon atom bonded to two oxygen atoms, and that's a carbon dioxide molecule. Now, why does light look different in my equation up here? Can anyone think of a reason why I have that separate, sort of? Shay?
Because light is like mixed with all of these things. So I don't know.
I don't
Because
know.
it's like the big thing, like you need light.
I don't know, maybe, Sarah?
Like the most important thing.
Well, they're all, if you're missing any one of those three, photosynthesis won't take place. But think about how is light different from carbon dioxide and water? Sure?
It's not made by atoms.
I was gonna say it's not atom, but
It's not what we call matter. Light is not matter, it is a type of, everything in the universe is either matter or,
Antimatter.
what's that?
a solid.
Light,
That's
sound,
antimatter.
Heat.
But wouldn't it matter? Does matter?
No, those are types of energy. Good.
Isn't matter? I thought it was matter because it takes up space.
What does?
Right? The sun.
No.
It doesn't.
The sun. Well, you're right. The sun is made of matter. It's made up of atoms.
So
But if the sun died,
But
what is
the energy that is released by the sun is not matter. It's energy, which is a different category of things. So light is actually energy, but it's still required here. You need light for photosynthesis, but often you'll actually see it not written here in the equation, but written on top of the arrow, because it's not technically part of the chemical equation. It's not atoms that are being rearranged. Carbon dioxide and water are. All right, so photosynthesis, we have light energy. Plants take in carbon dioxide from the air, water from the soil, and then they rearrange those atoms of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen into new forms. And they produce two things. So we already named one of them earlier today. Produces
Oxygen.
oxygen is one thing,
Yeah. Because it's on your sheet.
and Jackson just said food, but now what are we gonna?
Glucose.
Glucose.
Haha.
So photosynthesis produces glucose, and the chemical formula for glucose is C6H12O6.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And oxygen.
6.
So that C6H12O6, again, what that is telling us is that a molecule of glucose has 6 carbons bonded together, along with 12 hydrogen atoms and 6 oxygen atoms, all bound in a single molecule. And so when we say plants make their own food, this is really what they're making. They're making glucose. They're making this sugar. And they also produce some oxygen. You'll also notice that the atoms we had on the left side of our equation are the same atoms we have on the right side. They're just rearranged in different combinations and different amounts to produce glucose and oxygen. And that's what photosynthesis is. You will need to memorize the formula in both words and symbols. So you'll have to know that in photosynthesis, we have carbon dioxide plus water produces glucose and oxygen, or H2O plus CO2 produces C6H12O6 and O2.
So, like glucose is sugar, right?
It's a type of sugar,
So,
yeah.
isn't that mean like, you want to see everything that you eat is in glucose?
Almost everything you eat in our bodies can be transformed into glucose through various chemical reactions in our body. You can eat straight glucose and absorb it into your blood and it goes to your cells. But if you eat starches or proteins or fats, they can be transformed into glucose as well. Sort of glucose is the raw material that our cells run on. Okay?
Can you pass the photosynthesis one?
We'll get there in a minute. All right, now we have a couple other terms we need to talk about when we talk about a chemical equation like this. The parts on the left side of the arrow we call the reactants. They're reacting together. Technically, it should not include light, but it's okay.
Wait, so then why is water on there?
What's that?
Why is water on there if it's not there?
Water is a reactant. Light should not be, because it's a type of energy. Generally, the reactants are just the chemical the molecules, but it doesn't. It's okay. For our purposes, having light there is okay. And so, what do you think? What might we call the stuff on the other side? The stuff that's made. Joe?
Product.
Yeah, those are the products. The stuff that is produced. All right, and so just to finish up, the goal of photosynthesis, the purpose of it, is to produce, Karima?
Energy?
Not quite energy. We'll get to energy tomorrow.
Okay.
But photosynthesis produces Christian? Food, which we are now always going to say glucose. Yeah. So now we can start to move away from our definition of photosynthesis. We're not any longer going to say plants make food.
They make
We can say when plants use light to produce glucose. That's a much better
Why don't you
definition
just tell them it's what?
of photosynthesis. All right, I want to show you a couple things here. I want to show you